Welcome to the Chronicles of Lost Relations. We're so grateful to have you here. Your support means everything to us. If today's story resonated with you, or if you have any thoughts or feedback, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more stories that will move, inspire, and connect us all. Thank you for being part of our journey. Let us commence. The soft hum of my computer resonated in the room as I reclined in my chair, massaging my weary eyes. Another lengthy day of coding has come to an end. I looked at the clock on my desk, 7:30 p.m. Emily would likely be curious about my whereabouts. I powered down my computer and collected my belongings, my thoughts already drifting towards home. In this upscale Dallas neighborhood, our beautiful house, our two wonderful kids, and my loving wife Emily, I had it all. That's what I was told by everyone. As I drove home, the streetlights flickered to life in the fading light, yet I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that something was amiss. Emily had recently become aloof, preoccupied. Yet it must have been insignificant. We had been married for more than 10 years, creating a life together. What could ever stand in our way? As I drove into our driveway, I took a moment to appreciate the neatly trimmed lawn and the inviting light spilling from the windows. Home, a cherished sanctuary. I put on a cheerful expression and stepped through the front door. I have arrived home. I shouted out. Silence enveloped me, unusual. At this hour, the house typically buzzed with the sounds of children at play, the aroma of dinner sizzling on the stove, and Emily sharing stories about her day. I walked to the kitchen, loosening my tie. A note on the fridge drew my attention. I took the kids to their grandmother's for the night. I will return later. Don't stay up for me. Let my brow be furrowed. This marked the third occasion this week that Emily had arranged last-minute plans without informing me. I took out my phone, my thumb poised above her name in my contacts. No, I may have been overreacting. She had the right to her own life, her own aspirations. I had complete trust in her, didn't I? I prepared a quick dinner and made myself comfortable in my home office to attend to some work. As the hours passed, I noticed myself checking my phone with increasing regularity. There have been no messages from Emily. As the clock approached midnight, I heard the front door creak open. I exited my office, observing Emily as she stumbled a bit, struggling with her keys. "Hey," I spoke gently, aiming to avoid startling her. She leaped regardless, her eyes wide as they locked onto mine. "Owen, what are you up to?" I shrugged, attempting to maintain a laid-back tone. "I'm currently getting up to speed with some tasks. How did your night go?" "Oh, she waved her hand dismissively. Just typical girl things with Mom and the kids. I'm exhausted. Off to bed now." She glided by, leaving behind a trace of an unfamiliar cologne. I felt a tightness in my stomach, yet I set the sensation aside. This was Emily, my spouse, the mother of my kids. She would not, would she? As days transformed into weeks, the gap between us widened. Emily was increasingly absent from home, always armed with a plausible excuse. Professional gatherings, evenings out with friends, yoga sessions. I immersed myself in my work, convincing myself that if I simply put in more effort and contributed more, everything would return to how it once was. Yet, normal seemed like a memory long forgotten. One night, as I sat alone in our overly quiet house, my phone buzzed. A message from David, a business partner with whom I had been collaborating on a new project. "Hey, are we still set for drinks tomorrow? I have some exciting news to share." I promptly replied with a brief confirmation. A night out might have been exactly what I required to refresh my mind. The following evening, I met Zach at our regular bar. He was present upon my arrival, a broad smile adorning his face and a beverage in his grasp. "Owen, my friend." He gave me a friendly clap on the back as I took my seat. "How is life treating you?" I find myself compelled to smile. "No complaints here. What about you? What is this significant announcement?" Zach's smile grew broader. "Do you recall the new client I mentioned to you? The individual with the opportunity for a significant contract." I gave a nod, indicating to the bartender that I wanted a drink. This afternoon, Zach proudly announced that he had sealed the deal. "This will elevate my business to an entirely new level." "That's wonderful, Zach." I expressed my genuine happiness for him. Congratulations. As the evening progressed and the drinks continued to pour, Zach grew increasingly lively, sharing stories of his business successes and social achievements. My thoughts drifted, inevitably returning to Emily. Owen, are you there? Zach's voice brought me back to reality. Are you all right, my friend? It appears that your attention is elsewhere. I shook my head, attempting to clear my thoughts. I apologize. I have some work-related thoughts occupying my mind. Zach's eyes narrowed just a bit. Are you certain that's everything it is? Issues in bliss. What is it? No, certainly not, I replied hastily, too fast. Zach leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper. Hey. Owen, we're buddies, aren't we? Feel free to share your thoughts with me. I paused, the alcohol easing my inhibitions. It's likely insignificant. Emily has been behaving oddly recently. Remote. Perpetually engaged. Constantly on the move. A flicker of surprise? Remorse? A fleeting expression crossed Zach's face, but it vanished so swiftly that I questioned whether I had truly seen it. Zach said, clapping me on the shoulder, I'm sure it's nothing. You all are impressive. Emily is absolutely infatuated with you. His words were intended to be comforting, yet there was an unsettling quality in his tone that sent shivers down my spine. After a brief moment, I offered my apologies and made my way home, burdened by a heavy heart and a swirling mind. The following morning, with a slight hangover, I resolved that it was time to take action. I wanted to speak with Emily to resolve things, but just as I was about to dial her number, a notification drew my attention. A message from an unfamiliar source, containing an attachment. My finger lingered above the delete button, presuming it was spam, yet something caused me to pause. I have opened it. A rush of air escaped my lungs as I gazed at the screen. Images, a multitude of them. Emily and Zach entwined in tender embraces, sharing kisses in the dimly lit corners of unfamiliar restaurants, accessing hotel accommodations. My world shifted dramatically. I lost track of time as I sat there, fixated on those damning images. My mind raced, attempting to comprehend what I was witnessing. Emily, my wife, the woman I had loved and trusted for more than 10 years, found in the embrace of another man. And not merely any man, Zach, my companion, my business partner. The betrayal pierced through me, leaving a tangible pain in my heart. For how long had this been occurring? How could I have been so unaware? As the initial shock faded, a cold, calculating anger started to emerge. I was Jack, for crying out loud. I create systems and address challenges. This was merely another challenge to address. For the next few days, I found myself in a fog, merely going through the motions at work as my mind buzzed with plans and possibilities. I engaged a private investigator and collected phone records and bank statements. As more evidence emerged, the true magnitude of their deceit was revealed. It had persisted for months. As I toiled through late nights to support our family, Emily was secretly meeting with Zach. The yoga classes, the girls' nights out, they were all fabrications. While constructing my argument, I found myself pondering the situation of Zach's wife, Lila. Was she aware? Had she been as oblivious as I once was? A week after uncovering the affair, I took action. I returned home early from work, preparing the scene. As Emily entered, her cheeks rosy and a smile gracing her lips from yet another clandestine meeting, I stood there, waiting. "Oh," she said, surprised to find me there. "You've returned home quite early." I nodded and motioned toward the living room. "It's time for us to have a conversation, Emily." A brief shadow of discomfort passed over her features, yet she accompanied me, settling on the edge of the sofa. I stood still, my hands joined together behind my back. "Is everything all right, Owen?" she inquired, her tone laced with insincere worry. I nearly chuckled at the ridiculousness of the entire situation. "Absolutely not, Emily. Not everything is all right." I extended my hand to the folder I had prepared, gliding it across the coffee table in her direction. "You might want to consider reviewing this." With unsteady hands, Emily opened the folder. I observed the color fade from her face, her eyes growing wide with terror as she scrolled through the photos, the phone records, the bank statements. "Owen, I can clarify," she faltered. "Are you able to?" My voice was cold as ice. "Could you clarify the reasons behind the deception you've maintained for several months? Why have you been spending time with Zach without telling me?" Her eyes filled with tears. "It's not as you perceive." I felt isolated. Your constant dedication to work left me feeling distant, but Zach brought a spark back into my life. Does that really justify betraying our marriage? Deceiving me repeatedly, she rose to reach for me. "Please, Owen, we can resolve this matter. I assure you I will conclude things with Zach. I adore you." I withdrew from her grasp. "Emily, that's not a card you can play. Not at this moment." I retrieved another folder, this one filled with divorce papers. "Please take the next 10 minutes to sign these documents, and then kindly leave my house." Emily's eyes grew wide with astonishment. "What is it?" "Oh dear, surely you must be joking." "What is the situation with the children? What about our life together?" "You ought to have considered that prior to becoming involved with my friend," I remarked with a chill in my voice. 9 minutes. She started to cry genuinely, imploring and beseeching. She employed every strategy, guilt, manipulation, and even anger. Yet I remained resolute, my gaze fixed on the desperate. "Please, Owen, I am willing to do whatever it takes. We could attend counseling sessions and embark on a trip together. Please, let's not discard all that we've created together." 8 minutes, I replied, unaffected. She changed her approach, her voice becoming more resolute. "This is not something you can accomplish. I will pursue every ounce of value you possess in the courtroom. You will not see the children again." I smoothly pushed another document across the table, a comprehensive account of her affair, complete with time-stamped photos and financial records. "Are you certain you wish to take that path, Emily?" The struggle appeared to abandon her in an instant. She sank back onto the sofa, a sense of defeat evident in every contour of her form. "How did we arrive at this point, Owen?" "You made your choices," I said, my voice gently wavering despite my intentions. "It is now the moment to confront the outcomes." With trembling hands, Emily grasped the pen. I observed her as she inscribed her name on each designated line, tears quietly cascading onto the documents. Upon finishing the final page, she glanced up at me, her eyes filled with a final plea. "Is this truly the end?" "After all we've experienced," I held her gaze firmly. "You brought our marriage to an end the instant you chose to betray me, Emily. I'm simply formalizing it." She nodded deliberately, completing the final document with her signature. As she prepared to depart, she extended her hand as if to make contact with my arm, but reconsidered the gesture. "I apologize, Owen. I genuinely apologize for what it's worth." I remained silent as she collected her purse and keys. At the door, she hesitated, glancing back at the home we had inhabited together for so many years. "What should I say to the kids? We'll sort that out later," I mentioned. "At this time, I believe it would be most beneficial for you to remain with your mother." She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks anew. And then she was gone, the door shutting softly behind her with a gentle click that resonated in the abrupt stillness of the house. I lingered for a while, gazing at the shut door. The fury that had fueled me during this clash started to fade, revealing a deep, empty pain within. I had accomplished what was necessary, yet the price was nearly unbearable. With a sense of routine, I started to tidy up the remnants of our clash, organizing the incriminating photos and documents. While I was working, my phone vibrated with a message. I nearly overlooked it, yet something compelled me to take a look. The call originated from a number that was not recognized. "Mr. Hastings, I would like to introduce myself. I am Lauren, Zach's wife. It's important that we have a conversation. This matter requires immediate attention." I gazed at the message, a chill creeping down my spine. What was Lila aware of? What was she experiencing, and why did it matter so much? With a deep breath, I replied, "Tomorrow at 2 p.m., the cafe on 5th and Main. I will be present." As I pressed send, an unsettling sense lingered that this was just the beginning. The encounter with Emily marked merely the start. I sensed that whatever Lila had to share would once more alter everything dramatically. I surveyed the vacant house, the stillness heavy in the air. Within a week, my ideal life had disintegrated into nothingness. As I stood there, enveloped by the remnants of my broken marriage, an unexpected sense of tranquility washed over me. This was not the conclusion. A fresh start awaited, and whatever lay ahead, I would confront it directly. With a fresh sense of purpose, I made my way to my office. I envisioned a future to reconstruct. Perhaps, quite possibly, an unforeseen ally in Lauren. The match was far from finished. The journey was only starting. The cafe on 5th and Main was lively with the afternoon crowd when I arrived. I surveyed the room, searching for a familiar face I had only encountered in photographs at Zach's office gatherings. In a cozy corner booth, Lauren sat hunched over a steaming mug. As I drew near, she glanced up, her eyes growing wide in acknowledgement. "Mr. Hastings," she murmured, her voice scarcely audible. "Thank you for attending." I settled into the booth opposite her, observing her look. Dark circles beneath her eyes, a subtle tremor in her hands as she grasped her coffee mug. However, what drew my eye the most was the faint bruise subtly visible beneath her collar. Text. "Please call me Owen," I said, maintaining a low and calm tone. "Could you clarify what this is about, Lila?" She looked around apprehensively before leaning in. "Ah, I am aware of Zach and Emily," she remarked, her voice trembling just a bit. "I believe you feel the same way." My jaw tightened without my control. "Indeed," I responded, "I know of their indiscretion," and Lila's eyes brimmed with tears. "It's beyond that, Owen. It's a nightmare. Zach, he isn't the person you believe him to be." "Could you clarify what you mean?" I inquired, a rising discomfort taking root in my stomach. She inhaled deeply, appearing to brace herself. "Zach is abusive." "In terms of physical and emotional aspects. I've been dealing with it for years, but recently it has intensified. Since the affair began, he has become increasingly unpredictable and aggressive." A wave of dizziness washed over me, leaving my face pale. "Lila, I sincerely apologize. I was completely unaware." She gently shook her head. "How could you do that?" "Zach exercises caution. He exudes charm and wears a smile in public. However, in private settings." She trembled. "Have you thought about departing?" I inquired softly. Lila's laugh carried a tinge of bitterness. "Each day. However, Zach has made it clear that he will destroy me if I attempt to proceed. He manages every aspect, from our finances to our social circle. I felt confined, experienced." I reflected, noting her choice of past tense. She nodded, a glimmer of resolve igniting in her eyes. "I can no longer continue living like this, Owen. I contacted you for that reason. I possess proof regarding the affair involving Zach's abuse. I considered that perhaps we could bring this to a close together." I reclined, my thoughts swirling rapidly. What type of evidence? Lila delved into her purse, extracting a USB drive. "All of it," she stated. "Images, SMS, clips. I recorded Zach during one of his A episodes." My hand trembled slightly as I accepted the drive from her. "Lila, this is monumental. Have you visited the police station?" She shook her head with great urgency. "I am unable to do that. Not at this time. Zach possesses a network of connections. If he discovered that I was intending to leave, to reveal the truth about him. I'm uncertain about his actions." I nodded slowly, grasping her fear. "All right." I spoke with a calmness that belied the chaos swirling within me. "We should approach this gradually. Initially, it is essential to prioritize your safety. Is there a place you can go to, a place that would never cross Zach's mind?" Lila bit her lip, deep in thought. "Perhaps my sister's residence in Austin. Zach is unaware of her residence." "That sounds great," I replied. "That's a good beginning. Let's discuss this evidence." We dedicated the following hour to examining the contents of the USB drive. With every photo, every message, and every incriminating video, my frustration with Zach and Emily intensified. However, beyond that, I experienced a strong sense of protectiveness for Lila. Despite enduring immense hardship, she stood her ground, determined to push forward. After we completed our second round of coffee, I turned to Lila with a serious expression. "A plan is essential," I stated. "A method to utilize this evidence to not only terminate their affair, but also ensure your safety and hold Zach accountable for his actions." Lila nodded, her eyes reflecting both fear and determination. "What are your thoughts on this?" I leaned in, softening my tone. "We must approach this with intelligence, calculated. We cannot simply present all this information at once. It is essential to strategize each step meticulously, ensuring that it adheres to legal standards." "All right," Lila stated, her voice more composed now. "Where shall we begin?" "Initially, I stated that we must take you to a secure location. Prepare a bag with just the necessities. Keep it a secret from Zach that you're leaving. Are you able to do that this evening? Lila acknowledged with a nod. Indeed, I believe that to be the case. Zach has a meeting scheduled for later. He will not return until after midnight. Well done. As soon as you're secure, we will begin strategizing our next steps. We should seek advice from a lawyer to ensure that we are following all the proper procedures. Is it a lawyer? Lila inquired, her eyes growing wide. I am unable to afford it. I raised a hand. There's no need for concern regarding that. I possess valuable connections. We will find a solution. Lila's face lit up with relief. Thank you, Owen. I'm unsure of how to express my gratitude to you. I shook my head in disbelief. There is no obligation to do so. We are united in this moment. Zach and Emily caused pain for both of us. They must confront the repercussions of their choices. Just as we were about to depart, Lila unexpectedly seized my arm. Owen, she urged, her voice filled with urgency, there is an additional point you ought to be aware of. Zach's business overview. I lifted an eyebrow. What is your perspective on it? Lila looked around anxiously before proceeding. I have encountered various items, records. I suspect that Zach could be engaged in certain unlawful activities, financial misconduct, potentially more severe. The possibilities swirled in my thoughts. If this were true, it might be the crucial factor in finally taking Zach down for good. Is it possible to obtain proof? I inquired. Lila gave a reluctant nod. I believe that is the case. Zach's home office contains a safe. I am aware of the combination. Understood. I expressed my thoughts, already crafting a strategy. Exercise caution. Avoid taking any unnecessary risks. Your safety is the top priority. We said our goodbyes outside the cafe. Lila is heading home to pack, while I am going to my office. As I drove, my thoughts spun with all that I had absorbed. The profound nature of Zach's betrayal, the magnitude of his cruelty. It was nearly too much to handle. Yet, under the layers of shock and anger, a steely resolve began to take shape. Zach and Emily had shattered our existence, broken the trust we had in them. It was now the moment to reciprocate. In the days that followed, Lila and I dedicated ourselves to meticulously crafting our plan. We rendezvoused in secrecy, always vigilant to remain unnoticed in each other's company. I introduced her to Anna, a resilient lawyer friend of mine who focused on domestic abuse cases. This is solid evidence, Anna remarked as she examined the files Lila had compiled. However, we must exercise caution in our usage. One misstep and Zach might elude us. What are your recommendations? I inquired. Anna reclined in her chair, lost in thought. We must construct a compelling argument. We approached him from every direction: domestic abuse, infidelity, financial crimes. We approach it with careful planning, progressing one step at a time. Lila nodded, her expression resolute. I am prepared. Anything necessary. As we refined our plan, I found myself experiencing a blend of emotions. A part of me remained shaken by the betrayal, mourning the life I believed I possessed. Yet another aspect stirred within me in a manner I hadn't experienced in years. Lila's voice, belonging to Owen, drew me out of my reverie. Are you feeling all right? I glanced at her, noticed the worry reflected in her gaze, and offered a faint smile. Yes, I'm fine. I'm simply taking the time to process everything, I suppose. She extended her hand, cautiously resting it on mine. We will overcome this challenge. In unity. I nodded, a warmth enveloping me at her touch. In unison, I concurred. The following week unfolded in a flurry of events. As Lila collected additional evidence from Zach's home office, I focused on monitoring Emily's movements, constructing a detailed timeline of her affair. During one of our late-night planning sessions, Lila revealed yet another surprising piece of information. I discovered something. She spoke, her voice quivering just a bit as she passed me a pile of papers. Zach is safe. The situation is more dire than we anticipated. I turned the pages of the documents, my eyes growing wide as I came to understand what I was seeing. Bank statements, offshore accounts, transactions that raised red flags for money laundering. Lila, I whispered, this could send Zach to prison for a long time. She nodded, her eyes reflecting a blend of fear and determination. I understand. I decided to take it for that reason. However, Owen, if Zach discovers that I possess this, I extended my hand, holding hers with a steady grip. He will not, I assure you, Lila. This will come to a definitive conclusion. Armed with this new information, our plan became more concrete. We would proceed in phases, initially revealing the affair to Zach's business associates and clients. As the scandal started to unfold, we would alert the authorities regarding the financial crimes. "What about the abuse?" Lila inquired, her voice barely above a whisper. I gazed at her, noticing the fear and pain reflected in her eyes, and experienced a strong wave of protectiveness. "That is the final blow," I said softly. "After Zach processes the other revelations, you will share your story. Given the evidence at hand, he is unlikely to prevail." Lila nodded, inhaling deeply. "Understood. I am prepared." As we set our plan in motion, I found myself in awe of Lila's strength. In spite of all she had faced, she remained resolute, ready to take back control of her life. The initial stage of our strategy proceeded seamlessly. Anonymous emails revealing evidence of Zach and Emily's affair have reached key figures within Zach's business network. In just a few days, the murmurs began to intensify with every hour that went by. While I was in my office, I received a call from one of my contacts. "It is complete," he stated. "The local news has featured the story. It's on the verge of a major revelation." I expressed my gratitude and ended the call, a somber sense of satisfaction washing over me. I called Lila's number, my heart pounding as I anticipated her response. "Greetings!" Her voice carried a sense of tension and anticipation. "It is occurring," I stated plainly. "Are you prepared for phase 2? A pause enveloped the room, followed by a slow, deliberate inhalation. "Indeed," Lila replied, her voice unwavering. "Let's bring this to a close." The following days unfolded in a whirlwind of busyness. While Zach and Emily worked diligently to manage the scandal, we proceeded with our strategy. The anonymous tip regarding Zach's financial crimes struck the DA's office with explosive impact. I was with Lila when the news was announced. We observed as Zach's meticulously built world started to fall apart around him. "I can't believe it's really happening," Lila whispered, her eyes fixed on the TV screen where Zach's face was displayed, the words "under investigation" scrolling below. I gently squeezed her hand. "Have faith in it." "Lila, this was your doing. You are reclaiming your life." With tears glistening in her eyes, she turned to me, her smile unwavering. "This was accomplished, Owen. Your support made all the difference." As the dust started to clear from the financial revelations, we recognized it was time for the concluding phase of our plan. Lila, accompanied by Anna, would reveal her abuse allegations to the public. On the morning of the press conference, I discovered Lila pacing in her hotel room, her anxiety palpable and intense. "I'm not sure if I can do this," she said, her voice trembling. "What if they doubt my words? What if Zach manages to turn this around somehow?" I positioned myself in front of her, softly holding her shoulders. "Lila, please look at me," I said gently. She lifted her gaze to meet mine, a mix of fear and uncertainty swirling within them. "I remarked that you are the strongest person I know. You've endured unimaginable challenges and emerged resilient. You possess the truth and a wealth of evidence to support it. Zach is no longer a threat to you." Lila inhaled deeply, clearly bracing herself. "Indeed," she acknowledged. "I am capable of accomplishing this. I must complete this task." As we approached the courthouse, a wave of pride washed over me. Lila, who had once been confined by fear, now walked with confidence, prepared to confront her abuser and embrace the world. The press conference unfolded amidst a flurry of flashing cameras and a cacophony of shouted questions. Yet amidst everything, Lila remained resolute, her voice unwavering as she recounted her tale. As every word and piece of evidence was laid out, I noticed Zach's remaining supporters dwindling. As we navigated through the throng of reporters, Lila came to an abrupt halt. I turned to follow her gaze, and my breath caught in my throat. At the periphery of the gathering, Emily stood out. As our eyes locked, time appeared to freeze for an instant. I observed the astonishment on her face, the overwhelming understanding of how profoundly she had miscalculated everything. Then Lila's hand found mine, softly pulling me along. As we strolled toward the waiting car, I sensed a burden ease from my shoulders. The journey was far from complete. Legal struggles remained, and healing was still needed. For the first time in months, a sense of hope washed over me. That evening, while Lila and I were in my living room, the television silent as it displayed the day's news. I looked over at her. "What should we do next?" I inquired gently. Lila gazed at me, a subtle smile dancing on her lips. "Now," she stated, "we begin anew. We reconstruct." As I grasped her hand, a comforting warmth enveloped my chest. I concurred with the decision. As we sat there, the future unfolding ahead of us, I understood that no matter what lay ahead, we would confront it together. The most challenging times were now in the past, and a fresh chapter was about to unfold. However, the universe had different intentions. The following morning, I was roused by my phone vibrating continuously. With heavy eyelids, I extended my hand, my heart dropping at the sight of the overwhelming notifications. "Oh," and Lila's voice came through, strained with concern. "Did you catch the latest news?" I activated the speakerphone and accessed a local news website. My breath caught as I read the headline, "Tech Entrepreneur David Accused of Infidelity and Financial Crimes." "It's all around us," Lila continued, her voice trembling. The photos and videos were leaked to Zach's business partners. Additionally, there is more to consider. A news outlet is covering a story regarding his purported illegal activities. I straightened my posture, thoughts swirling in my head. That was not included in our plan. Not at this time. Who might have? "I'm not sure," Lila said. "However, I find myself feeling frightened. If Zach discovers that I was involved in this," I stated with conviction that he won't. "I assure you, Lila, we will find a solution to this. Would you be able to meet me at the cafe in an hour?" "Understood." She consented, her voice barely above a whisper. "I will be present." While I was getting dressed, my phone incessantly buzzed with messages and calls. I disregarded each and every one of them. I concentrated on managing the situation effectively. This is not how we envisioned it. We had to adjust quickly. At the cafe, Lila sat alone, leaning over a cup of coffee, her eyes scanning the room with a hint of anxiety. I settled into the booth opposite her, maintaining a quiet tone. "How are you managing?" I inquired. Lila's hand trembled as she raised her cup. "I feel a deep sense of fear, Owen. What if Zach has his suspicions about me? What if he pursues me?" I extended my hand across the table, softly grasping hers. "I will ensure that does not occur. Let's keep in mind that we're all in this together." She nodded, inhaling deeply. "What are our next steps?" "We adhere to the plan. My mind is working overtime. This simply speeds up our schedule. We must act swiftly. Are you prepared to share your story with the world?" Lila's eyes grew wide. "No, I'm uncertain if I'm prepared." "Lila," I spoke softly, "I understand it's frightening, but this could be our greatest opportunity. As Zach grapples with these revelations, we confront him with the abuse charges. He will be too overwhelmed to present an adequate defense." She remained silent for a considerable time, the conflict within her clearly reflected on her expression. At last, she raised her gaze to meet mine, a fresh resolve shining in her eyes. "All right, let's proceed." We dedicated the following hours to working with Anna, our lawyer, as we prepared Lila's statement and collected all the necessary evidence. While we were working, my phone buzzed once more, a message from an unidentified number. "I am aware of your actions. Let's gather at Clyde Warren Park in 1 hour. Please come by yourself." I gazed at the message, my heart pounding. Who might it be? Zach? Is he one of his associates? "Is everything all right?" Lila inquired, observing my expression. I find myself compelled to smile. "Yes, it's just a work-related matter." "I need to step out for a moment. Are you going to be all right here with Anna?" Lila nodded, yet the worry in her eyes was unmistakable. "Please exercise caution, Owen." The park teemed with individuals relishing the bright afternoon, unaware of the unfolding drama surrounding them. I surveyed the crowd, searching for a familiar face or someone who seemed out of place. "Owen!" I turned swiftly, finding myself directly in front of Emily. She appeared distinct, exhausted, unkempt, a stark contrast to the refined woman I had once married. "Emily," I said, my voice icy, "what brings you here?" She looked around anxiously before she began to speak. "I am aware that you are responsible for this, Owen. The revelations, the controversy, your fingerprints are all over it." I maintained a neutral expression. "I'm not sure I understand what you're referring to." "Enough with the nonsense," Emily hissed. "I am familiar with you. I understand your thought process. You are methodically dismantling Zach bit by bit, and if I am, I accept the challenge. Given your actions, you are deserving of all that is about to unfold. Emily's expression twisted in distress. Owen, I kindly ask you. I understand that I caused you pain. I understand that my actions were beyond redemption. However, this is crossing the line. Your actions are causing significant harm to others. A wave of anger washed over me. You destroy lives, Emily. Zach and you. Have you ever considered the impact of your choices, concerning the individuals you were causing pain to? She recoiled at my words. I wasn't considering things properly. I acted out of self-interest. I understand that now. Owen, I must ask, isn't this sufficient? Have we not endured enough already? I gazed at her, truly gazed at her, for the first time since uncovering her treachery. The woman I once adored, the mother of my children, now diminished to this desperate, pleading figure. It falls short. I spoke, my tone calm and unwavering. Far from it. You cannot fathom what Zach is capable of and what he has accomplished. Emily's eyes grew wide. What do you mean? I paused, considering my words thoughtfully. Zach is not the person you believe him to be, Emily. He poses a threat. It is time for the world to be informed of the truth. Just as she was about to reply, my phone vibrated. A message from Lila. The task is complete. A press conference will take place in 1 hour. I glanced back at Emily, noticing the uncertainty and apprehension reflected in her gaze. If you're seeking the truth, tune in to the news in an hour. What about Emily? Avoid Zach. For your safety. I departed, leaving her there, her desperate cries diminishing in the distance as I moved on. The point of no return had been reached. The atmosphere outside the courthouse was tumultuous. Reporters vied for position. Flashes from cameras illuminated the scene. At the heart of the scene was Lila, her head held high, even though I noticed the slight tremor in her hands. I navigated through the throng, positioning myself next to her. Are you prepared? I inquired gently. She nodded, her gaze locking onto mine. As I will ever be. Anna approached the microphones, her voice piercing the din. Esteemed guests, I appreciate your presence here today. Lauren wishes to address a matter concerning her husband, David. As Lila started to speak, her voice gaining strength with every word, I surveyed the crowd. In that moment, I caught sight of him at the back. Zach! His expression was one of intense anger as he heard Lila share her experiences of years filled with abuse, manipulation, and terror. I possess evidence. Lila spoke, her voice unwavering. Images, footage, health documentation. I stand here today not only for my own sake, but for every individual caught in an abusive relationship. It's time to shatter the quiet. It is time for justice. The crowd burst into inquiries, yet Anna skillfully handled them, guiding reporters to a ready press packet. As we returned to the courthouse, I sensed a hand clutching my arm. You son of a bitch, Zach snarled, his face mere inches from mine. Do you really believe you can bring me down? I will bring about your downfall. I will bring about your downfall. I held my position, looking into his eyes with composure. It's finished, Zach. You have been defeated. Security swiftly stepped in, restraining Zach as he hurled threats. I glanced at Lila, who trembled, yet maintained her composure. I said, squeezing her hand, You did it. You were truly remarkable. She offered a faint smile. We accomplished it. In unity. The following weeks unfolded in a flurry of legal activities, media engagements, and late-night planning meetings. Zach, as expected, launched into a vigorous defense, rejecting all allegations and hinting at potential countersuits. However, we were prepared for him. As we unveiled each piece of evidence and as each witness stepped forward, Zach's defenses began to fall apart. His business partners left him behind, his clients vanished, and his meticulously constructed facade of success crumbled. On the day of the final hearing, I found myself in the courtroom, observing as Zach's world crumbled around him. The judge spoke with a firm tone as she announced her decision. Mr. McPherson, the case against you is quite compelling. The court has determined that you are guilty of domestic abuse, financial fraud, and perjury. You are sentenced to a term of 5 years in prison, with the first 3 years served without the possibility of parole. Furthermore, You are required to pay significant restitution to Mrs. McPherson, and your assets will be frozen while a comprehensive audit of your business transactions is conducted. I observed the color fade from Zach's face as the truth of his circumstances finally settled in. As he was escorted in handcuffs, our eyes locked, revealing a blend of animosity and resignation. Outside the courthouse, Lila faced the press, her voice unwavering as she spoke to the cameras. Today, justice was delivered. This goes beyond just me or Zach. This addresses the need to disrupt the pattern of abuse, focusing on empowering those who have been muted. If my story can assist even a single individual in discovering the courage to escape an abusive situation, then all that I have endured will have been worthwhile. As the crowd began to thin, Lila faced me, her eyes glistening with tears. It's truly finished, isn't it? I embraced her warmly, nodding in understanding. It has come to an end. You are free, Lila. In the months that ensued, life gradually started to establish a new cadence. Lila, having received a settlement from her divorce, embarked on the journey of establishing her own interior design firm. I concentrated on mending my bond with my children, doing my utmost to clarify the changes within our family. On a bright Saturday, while I was mowing the lawn, I noticed a familiar car arrive. Emily emerged, her demeanor reflecting uncertainty. "Greetings," she spoke gently. "I hope my presence is welcome here. I would like to have a conversation." I switched off the mower, dabbing the sweat from my forehead. "Absolutely. Please, step inside." We lingered at the kitchen table, the quietness expanding around us. At last, Emily uttered her words. I observed Lila's press conference. I was completely unaware of any of it, the mistreatment, the deception. I feel quite foolish. I exhaled deeply, raking my fingers through my hair. We were both deceived, Emily. Zach excelled at concealing his true self. She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I sincerely apologize, Owen, for all things. I understand that it may not alter the situation, but it's important for you to be aware of this." I gazed at her, this woman who had played a significant role in my life for so many years. The anger I had harbored for months began to fade, giving way to a tired sense of acceptance. I expressed my gratitude softly. While it may not alter what has already happened, it could assist us in progressing ahead, for the children's benefit, if for no other reason. Emily offered a wistful smile. "I appreciate that. They require our presence, especially at this moment." As she departed, I sensed a burden ease from my shoulders. The chapter of my life with Emily has come to a close, yet there remains the possibility of crafting a new narrative together as co-parents, and perhaps, in time, as friends. That evening, while I relaxed on my back porch, observing the sunset, my phone vibrated with a message from Lila. "Are you occupied tomorrow? I'm eager to explore a new cafe that has recently opened." A smile crept across my face as a warmth blossomed in my chest. "I wouldn't miss it," I replied. As the stars started to emerge in the deepening twilight, I contemplated the experiences of the past year. The anguish, the treachery, the struggle for justice, it had all culminated in this moment. I confronted my deepest fears, faced the most shadowy aspects of human nature, and emerged on the other side with greater strength. Laughter echoed from within the house, where my children were engrossed in a movie. At that moment, I experienced a deep sense of tranquility. The future lay ahead, shrouded in uncertainty, yet for the first time in ages, a sense of excitement welled up within me as I contemplated what it might bring. I found myself ensnared by betrayal, consumed by anger, driven by a desire for vengeance. However, at this point, those connections had been severed. I had the freedom to progress, to embrace love once more, to create a life according to my own desires. As I made my way inside to be with my children, a smile crept onto my face. The most challenging times were now in the past, and a fresh chapter was about to unfold. This time, I was prepared to craft my own narrative,